The idea behind this project was to get the Canadian Clay and Glass Gallery out front and center in Toronto in a larger market so that people would know about the gallery and the cutting edge projects that we do at the gallery, and that we really are about showcasing contemporary art that happens to be made in clay or glass.
We are making like hand-blown neon tubes, a process I've been involved with since like the late 80s with a variety of people. And Christian here has been involved in a number of these things through the years. We have this perfect match of bringing something together in this like wonderful, like supremely unique location in the inner business core of Toronto, the first Canadian place, courtyard with the waterfall at King and York. This is a vanishing scene. This kind of neon, it will not last long on the earth. It's being replaced by all kinds of new technology. This is one of very few living glass, like hot glass centers in southern Ontario. More and more glass studios are closing down. This is one that's still alive. So this is lucky that this is available to us through the benevolence of the Living Arts Centre and our friend here, Kathy Hibbets, another glassblower. I'm working today with one of my partners, Orest Tataryn, one of my original partners in the Outlaw Neon, a guerrilla arts group.
As Alfred said, we've been friends for 30 years, and I'm fully familiar with all of the work that he's done and all of the people that he's played with in the glass world, but that we've had 3 major shows of his work in the gallery, so this is it's very much kind of like being in the same family to do this project at Nuit Blanche. It was an absolute natural choice to work with Alfred for this project. Not only because his ideas are really cutting edge and really interesting, and the way that he plays with glass is really exciting and very lyrical and moving, and also that the work seems to move. But it's kind of, watching him work is kind of like watching a ballet in a way, and it's very, very theatrical, and he's a very theatrical personage, and so it's a really great match, I think, for the gallery to work with someone who's got this kind of energy and this passion for the medium that is so far beyond most people that it's inspiring to everyone. People in the glass community, people in the sculpture community, people in the architecture community, people in visual arts, period, and just the public is blown away. Nuit Blanche is the most important artistic event in Toronto. It happens every year since 2006, and Toronto is the only place that gets it right. This is originally started in Paris. There are Nuit Blanche events throughout the world, but Toronto really gets it right. The whole city just is open up all night, and there are art projects from all over the world that are open just for the night, and they're on the sides of buildings, they're inside of buildings, they're installed outdoors, they're of all different kinds of work, from performance to
music,
visual art, sculpture, everything.
Yeah.
And and the museums stay open all night as well, and it's just it creates such an atmosphere of magic in the city that people now are flocking from all over, and we have over 1 million people coming to see Nuit Blanche every year now.
So it's basically a mix of graphics and fluid hand-blown neon lines that on one hand represents the fluidity of the idea of river and flow and stream of consciousness and all that, tied in with like these graphics of old type styles and elements of broken signs, bits of broken icons, logos, parts of words, letters, parts of letters, right? And this is all going to be conglomerated into this whirlwind of activity amongst the trees within that courtyard at the First Canadian Place on that night of Nuit Blanche. We have worked in probably a dozen different studios around southern Ontario and elsewhere over the years, making this kind of work. And every studio, given the equipment they have and the kind of glass they use, creates a new set of like obstacles for us to work through as we do it. So we've never made these tubes in the studio before, and so we are learning with the studio, relearning ourselves and how we are working with the studio and its nuances as we go, right? So tonight it's not going as greatly as we'd like to, but that's okay. There will be more nights in this studio or other studios because we've got to get the work done. There's a deadline. There will be probably a total within the installation somewhere in the neighborhood of around 60 to 70 tubes of the traditional hand-bent form of neon and the more fluid, more dramatic, more balletic Outlaw Neon style work of the hand-blown. And the total of this, most people will not really understand when they see it, the variances. They'll go, oh, it's just powder-colored light. But if people look closely, they will see these variances. And there are tubes going to be involved in this project that are like 60 years old, and some that will only be 2 to 3 weeks old. What we do, what Orest and I do in this, no one else does. We are really quite unique in this. Our stuff is great. We're not trying to denigrate what came before us. We respect that tradition and that ability and that craft, but that is a dying scene and it's going away. And so probably what will end up being is only what we do.
And I'm the neon part of all this glass blowing and all this tube making. And it actually, the tube making in here is about 1/3 of the actual work. Once it gets into the neon studio, which are called warm working, the ends of the glass have to be worked and necked down and thinned out to match a standard electrode size. And then the tubes have to be cleaned out on the inside, and then they have to be powdered with phosphors and then bombarded before they finally come to life. But it's very frustrating because the thickness of the glass tends to shatter and blow up in the neon studio, and you do lots of work only to see it end up on the floor. So it's pretty frustrating stuff. But the payoff is in the actual beauty of the actual light tubes, which are completely unique, and I like to call them proprietary because I haven't seen anybody else do it. Working it that way. Besides us, it's having a bit of renaissance now. It seems it died off for quite a few years, and I enjoyed it a lot more when we were an art collective. But we became victims of our own success and became a design house corporation, and it went down in flames from there. So wrong kind of flames. Our peak was as artists, as guerrilla artists. And bad boys, notoriety, which brought a little bit of fame, which went a little bit to our heads,
some money,
and into our bank accounts, and into the fear of God driven into us by a couple of lawyers here and there. And like I said, it was downhill from there. But it's having a nice renaissance between myself and Alfred, and whoever works around with us. And my favorite part about here, with the Mississauga installation, was when we were sussing it all out and looking at it from a distance, we decided that the street lights were interfering. So one of our helpers, Bill Seabrook, put on blue overalls and a white construction hat and promptly proceeded turning all the street lights out, and nobody noticed for 3 months.
And
because
we also
was lit up, right?
And we also stole electricity from the city of Mississauga for part of that. Remember that?
Stealing, Alfred.
Borrowing.
It's creative borrowing.
We powered part of our system from the streetlight system of the city here, and during the intro, we told them, as a matter of fact, there is a bit of an outlaw thing going on here, but we can't tell you what it is yet.
Yeah, we have to
and we never did.
Yeah. And nobody was the wiser. except Bill Seaver.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny.
After the installation at Nuit Blanche, the piece will then come to the Canadian Clay and Glass Gallery and be exhibited at the Canadian Clay and Glass Gallery, be completely reconfigured for the space there. And we are looking at the possibility of having it showing elsewhere. And there's also now some interest generated in the possibility of purchasing the piece.